In a small, sleepy town surrounded by rolling green hills and thick forests, life moved at its usual slow pace. People woke up early in the morning, went to work or school, came back home in the evening, and spent their nights watching TV or chatting with family. It was the kind of place where everyone knew each other and nothing exciting ever seemed to happen. But all of that changed one quiet evening when something extraordinary shook the entire world. It started just like any other day. The sun had set behind the hills, painting the sky orange and pink. Birds chirped as they returned to their nests, and the air smelled fresh after a light drizzle earlier in the afternoon. Children played outside while parents sat on porches, sipping tea. Everything felt normal, until it didn't. At around 8:45 p.m., a strange sound began to fill the air. At first, it was barely noticeable, almost like the hum of electricity running through wires. But within seconds, the noise grew louder and deeper, vibrating through the ground and rattling windows. Dogs started barking uncontrollably, their tails tucked between their legs as if sensing danger. Birds flew out of trees in panic, scattering in every direction. Even the wind seemed to stop blowing, leaving an eerie stillness in its wake. People stepped out of their homes to see what was happening. Neighbors gathered in groups, looking up at the sky with confused expressions. Some thought it might be thunder, but there were no clouds in sight. Others wondered if it was some kind of military exercise, though no planes could be seen or heard. As the minutes passed, the mysterious hum continued to grow louder, making it hard for anyone to ignore. Then, without warning, the sky above them split open. Not literally, of course, but it certainly looked that way. Massive cracks of bright, glowing light appeared high up in the heavens, stretching across the darkening expanse like veins pulsing with energy. These weren't ordinary lights. They shimmered and shifted colors, radiating an otherworldly glow that made people shield their eyes. The cracks spread wider and wider, illuminating the entire town and casting long shadows on the ground below. The sight sent shockwaves of fear rippling through the crowd. Children clung to their parents, crying softly, while adults exchanged worried glances. No one had ever seen anything like this before. Was it some kind of natural disaster? A freak weather event? Or something far more sinister? As the glowing fissures widened, strange shapes began to emerge from within them. They were massive, so big that they blocked out parts of the stars, and completely unlike anything anyone had ever imagined. Some of these objects looked like jagged mountains floating in the air, covered in sharp edges and metallic surfaces. Others resembled enormous disks spinning slowly, emitting faint beams of light. Whatever they were, they didn't belong to Earth. Panic erupted almost instantly. People screamed and ran back into their houses, locking doors and pulling down curtains. Cars sped down empty streets as drivers tried to get away from the chaos. Cell phones buzzed nonstop with notifications, and social media feeds exploded with videos and photos of the bizarre phenomenon. Everyone wanted answers, but nobody had any. Local news channels scrambled to cover the event, sending reporters out into the field despite the obvious danger. One reporter, standing near the edge of town with his camera crew, described the scene in a shaky voice. It's unbelievable," he stammered, pointing toward the sky. "These things, they're huge, and they're coming closer." His words trailed off as another loud rumble shook the area, causing him to stumble backward. Back at home, families huddled together, glued to their TVs as experts debated what was happening. Scientists speculated about everything from solar flares to wormholes, while conspiracy theorists claimed it was evidence of secret government experiments gone wrong. Religious leaders urged calm, saying it might be a sign from God. Meanwhile, militaries around the world mobilized, preparing for the worst-case scenario. But despite all the theories and preparations, one thing remained painfully clear. Humanity was completely unprepared for whatever was unfolding above them. The glowing cracks in the sky continued to widen, revealing more and more of the strange alien structures. Each new object that emerged seemed bigger and more menacing than the last, sparking even greater fear among those watching below. For hours, the spectacle continued uninterrupted. There was no communication from the mysterious visitors, no explanation for why they had come, and no indication of what they planned to do next. It was as though they were simply observing Earth, studying its inhabitants like scientists examining lab rats under a microscope. By midnight, exhaustion began to set in. Many people stayed awake, too scared to sleep, while others collapsed onto couches or beds overwhelmed by the events of the night. Yet even in their dreams, the glowing cracks haunted them, reminding them that life would never be the same again. Unbeknownst to anyone, however, the real story was only beginning. What lay ahead would test humanity's courage, ingenuity, and resolve in ways no one could have anticipated. For now, though, the townsfolk and billions of others around the globe could do little more than watch and wait, hoping against hope that whatever was happening wouldn't end in catastrophe. And so, as the clock ticked closer to dawn, the world held its breath, unaware that the true challenge was yet to come. As the first rays of sunlight began to peek over the horizon, the glowing cracks in the sky showed no signs of closing. Instead, they seemed to stretch even wider, revealing more of the alien structures that had appeared during the night. The jagged mountain-like ships and spinning disks now hung ominously in the sky, casting long shadows across the earth below. People woke up groggily, their minds still reeling from the events of the previous evening. Some had barely slept, while others had tossed and turned, plagued by nightmares of destruction and chaos. But one thing was certain: life could never go back to normal. By morning, news outlets around the world were broadcasting non-stop coverage of the phenomenon. Reporters stood in front of cameras, pointing frantically at the alien ships as if trying to make sense of what they were seeing. Scientists, military officials, and politicians appeared on talk shows and panels, offering conflicting theories about the origins and intentions of these mysterious visitors. Some argued that the aliens might be peaceful explorers, curious about humanity and its planet. Others believed they were invaders, here to conquer or destroy. But for every theory presented, there were countless questions left unanswered. One question loomed larger than all the rest. Why hadn't the aliens said anything? Not a single transmission, signal, or message had been received. It was as though they didn't care whether humans knew they were there, or worse, as though they considered Earth's inhabitants too insignificant to bother communicating with. This silence terrified people even more than the ships themselves. If the aliens weren't talking, what exactly were they doing? Governments around the world quickly convened emergency meetings to discuss how to respond. Military leaders proposed launching attacks against the alien ships, arguing that striking first would send a clear message: humanity wouldn't go down without a fight. Scientists urged caution, warning that any aggressive action could provoke retaliation far beyond anything Earth was prepared to handle. Diplomats suggested attempting communication again, hoping that patience and goodwill might yield better results. In the end, it was decided to take a two-pronged approach: try to establish contact while simultaneously preparing for the worst. Communication teams worked tirelessly to craft messages in multiple languages, both human and mathematical, hoping to bridge the gap between species. They transmitted radio signals, laser beams, and even visual displays using massive LED screens set up in open fields. Each attempt was met with deafening silence. The aliens simply ignored them, continuing to hover silently above the planet, as if nothing had happened. Meanwhile, militaries scrambled to deploy their most advanced weapon systems. Fighter jets took to the skies, circling the alien ships in tight formations. Battleships patrolled coastal waters, their missile launchers primed and ready. Nuclear submarines submerged deep beneath the ocean, awaiting orders to strike. Yet, despite all this preparation, it soon became clear that humanity's arsenal was woefully inadequate. The first major confrontation occurred shortly after sunrise. A squadron of fighter jets approached one of the smaller alien vessels, firing missiles and bullets in a desperate attempt to provoke a reaction. To everyone's horror, the projectiles disintegrated mid-air, vaporized by some invisible force field surrounding the ship. The jets flew closer, strafing the hull with everything they had, but not a single scratch appeared on the alien vessel's surface. It was as though the weapons were bouncing off an impenetrable shield. Back on the ground, people watched live footage of the failed attack, their hearts sinking with each passing moment. Social media erupted with a mix of anger, fear, and disbelief. Why are we even trying? One user tweeted. It's like throwing rocks at a tank. Another posted, if they wanted to destroy us, they'd have done it already. Why are we provoking them? Despite the failure, military commanders refused to give up. They ordered additional waves of attacks, testing different strategies and weapons in hopes of finding a weakness. But no matter what they tried, the outcome remained the same. Missiles exploded harmlessly against the force fields, bombs detonated prematurely, and even experimental energy weapons fizzled out before reaching their targets. The aliens didn't retaliate, nor did they move to engage. They simply floated, there, silent and unyielding, as if daring humanity to keep trying. Amidst the chaos, ordinary citizens struggled to cope with the growing uncertainty. Grocery stores were overwhelmed with panicked shoppers stocking up on supplies, fearing the worst. Gas stations ran out of fuel as people fled cities, seeking refuge in rural areas. Schools and businesses closed indefinitely, leaving millions unsure of what to do next. Rumors spread like wildfire, ranging from wild conspiracy theories to grim predictions of impending doom. Some people turned to religion, praying for salvation or guidance. Others lashed out in frustration, blaming governments, scientists, or anyone else they thought responsible for failing to protect them. But not everyone gave in to despair. In hidden corners of the world, secret projects once deemed too risky or impractical were hastily revived. Deep underground, in classified military installations, scientists worked feverishly to unlock the secrets of ancient artifacts believed to have extraterrestrial origins. These objects, discovered decades earlier in remote locations around the globe, had long puzzled researchers with their advanced technology and indecipherable inscriptions. Now, faced with an existential threat, humanity turned to them as a last resort. One such artifact, a small metallic orb etched with intricate patterns, became the focus of intense study. After days of experimentation, scientists managed to activate it, causing it to pulse with a soft blue light. When placed near electronic devices, the orb emitted a powerful electromagnetic field capable of disrupting nearby machinery. Realizing its potential, researchers scaled up the design, creating a larger version powered by cutting-edge energy sources. The prototype was deployed during a subsequent encounter with an alien probe sent to investigate Earth's defenses. As the sleek insect-like drone descended toward a military base, the orb was activated. Instantly, a shimmering barrier sprang into existence, repelling the probe and forcing it to retreat. For the first awaited breath since the aliens' arrival, humanity had found something that actually worked. News of the successful test spread quickly, reigniting a flicker of hope among the population. Maybe Earth wasn't completely defenseless after all. Maybe, just maybe, humanity stood a chance against whatever these visitors had planned. As the day drew to a close, the alien ships remained in place, their intentions still shrouded in mystery, but for the first time, the balance of power felt slightly less one-sided. While the aliens continued to ignore humanity's attempts at communication, their hesitation suggested they hadn't anticipated resistance on this scale. And though no one knew what tomorrow would bring, one thing was clear: the quiet before the storm was over. The real battle was about to begin. The discovery of the shimmering orb's power marked a turning point in humanity's response to the alien presence. While it was only a small victory, it gave people something they desperately needed: hope. For weeks, fear and uncertainty had gripped the world, leaving billions feeling powerless against an incomprehensible threat. But now, with proof that Earth could fight back, even in a limited way, the mood began to shift. Governments doubled down on their efforts, pouring resources into expanding the prototype technology. Scientists worked around the clock, fueled by adrenaline and caffeine, determined to turn this newfound advantage into a full-scale defense system. In hidden underground facilities, teams of engineers and physicists collaborated on scaling up the orb's design. The original artifact had been small enough to fit in a person's hand, but its energy output was staggering. To replicate its effects on a larger scale required materials and techniques far beyond anything currently available. Fortunately, The classified installations housing these projects were equipped with cutting-edge tools and some of the brightest minds in the world. Using advanced alloys, quantum processors, and experimental power sources, they constructed a series of massive devices capable of generating protective barriers over entire cities. These new constructs, dubbed Aegis shields by the military, were enormous dome-shaped machines mounted on towering platforms. When activated, they created shimmering fields of energy that pulsed with the same blue light as the original orb. Initial tests showed promising results. Missiles fired at the shields disintegrated instantly, and even high-powered lasers failed to penetrate the barrier. However, there was one major limitation. The Aegis shields consumed immense amounts of energy, requiring constant refueling from nearby power plants. Deploying them globally would be a logistical nightmare, but for now, they represented humanity's best chance at survival. As word of the breakthrough spread, public morale soared. News outlets broadcast live demonstrations of the Aegis shields in action, showcasing their ability to repel attacks. Crowds gathered outside testing sites, cheering as projectiles harmlessly bounced off the glowing barriers. Social media lit up with messages of pride and determination. Memes featuring the shields alongside captions like, "Not today aliens," went viral overnight. For the first time since the aliens' arrival, people dared to believe that humanity might actually stand a chance. Encouraged by the success of the Aegis shields, military leaders decided to take a more aggressive stance. They reasoned that if the aliens refused to communicate, then perhaps a show of force would prompt them to reveal their intentions, or at least force them to retreat. Plans were drawn up for a coordinated global operation involving multiple nations. Fighter jets armed with conventional weapons would lead the charge, followed closely by ground forces equipped with portable versions of the shield technology. The goal wasn't to destroy the alien ships outright, that was still impossible, but to test their defenses and gather valuable data. The operation, codenamed Project Skybreaker, launched on a crisp autumn morning. Troops stationed across the globe synchronized their movements, ensuring maximum impact. In North America, squadrons of fighter jets roared into the sky, heading straight for the nearest alien vessel. Below them, mobile Aegis shield units rolled into position, ready to deploy at a moment's notice. Similar operations unfolded in Europe, Asia, Africa, and Australia, creating a unified front against the invaders. At first, the mission seemed doomed to fail. Just like previous attempts, the fighter jets' missiles exploded harmlessly against the alien ship's force fields. The pilots pressed forward regardless, weaving through the debris and firing everything they had. On the ground, soldiers activated the portable shields, forming protective bubbles around key strategic locations. As expected, the aliens didn't retaliate, at least not directly. Instead, they sent out dozens of smaller drones to investigate. The human forces. This is where things got interesting. When the alien drones approached the Aegis shields, they hesitated, unlike before. When they had breezed past Earth's primitive defenses, these probes appeared confused or even cautious. Several attempted to breach the barriers but were repelled instantly, their sleek metallic bodies sparking as they collided with the energy field. Others circled warily, scanning the area with bright red beams of light. It was clear that the aliens hadn't anticipated encountering such advanced technology. For hours, the standoff continued. Human forces maintained their positions, refusing to back down despite the overwhelming odds. Meanwhile, scientists monitored the alien drones' behavior, analyzing every movement and transmission. What they discovered was both fascinating and alarming. The drones weren't just gathering intelligence, they were adapting. Each time they encountered an Aegis shield, their tactics evolved slightly, suggesting they were learning how to counteract the barrier. Realizing the situation was escalating, military commanders ordered a strategic withdrawal. The goal of Project Skybreaker had been achieved. Humanity had demonstrated its ability to resist, however briefly. More importantly, the operation provided critical insights into the aliens' capabilities and vulnerabilities. Data collected during the encounter revealed patterns in the drones' movements and energy signatures, offering clues about their propulsion systems and communication methods. This information would prove invaluable in developing future countermeasures. Back. On the home front, reactions to Project Skybreaker were mixed. Some hailed it as a monumental achievement, proof that humanity could hold its own against superior foes. Others criticized the decision to provoke the aliens, arguing that aggression might escalate the conflict unnecessarily. Tensions ran high, as debates raged online and offline, with everyone weighing in on what should happen next. Despite the differing opinions, one thing remained certain. The aliens were no longer treating Earth as insignificant. In the days following the operation, the alien ships began moving closer to the planet's surface. They didn't attack or issue any demands. They simply hovered lower than before, as if studying humanity more intently. Observers noted subtle changes in their formations, with smaller vessels clustering around larger ones in defensive patterns. It was as though the aliens were preparing for something. But what? Scientists speculated that the aliens might be planning a ground assault, using their drones to scout potential landing sites. Military officials countered that the lack of direct engagement suggested otherwise, proposing instead that the aliens were waiting for reinforcements. Whatever the case, the increased proximity made people uneasy. Cities under the shadow of alien ships reported spikes in anxiety-related incidents, while rural areas saw an influx of refugees seeking safety. Amidst the growing tension, researchers made another groundbreaking discovery. Buried deep within the archives of ancient texts and artifacts were references to a long-lost civilization believed to have coexisted with extraterrestrial beings thousands of years ago. These accounts described advanced technologies similar to the Aegis shields, hinting at a shared origin between humanity and the stars. Could it be that Earth's ancestors had once possessed knowledge far beyond modern understanding? If so, unlocking those secrets could tip the scales in humanity's favor. Excavation teams were dispatched to remote archaeological sites, searching for evidence of this forgotten era. Meanwhile, linguists and cryptographers worked tirelessly to decode the inscriptions found on the original orb. Slowly but surely, fragments of meaning began to emerge, revealing tantalizing glimpses of an ancient alliance and a warning. By the end of the week, humanity found itself at a crossroads. The alien silence persisted, their motives still unclear. Yet thanks to the courage and ingenuity of countless individuals, Earth had taken its first steps toward fighting back. The question now was whether this fragile resistance would be enough, or if darker challenges lay ahead. As night fell once again, casting long shadows beneath the alien ships, people around the world held their breath. The battle for Earth's survival was far from over, but for the first time humanity had proven that it wouldn't go down without a fight. And somewhere, deep within the hearts of ordinary men and women, a spark of defiance burned brighter than ever before. The tension between humanity and the alien visitors reached a boiling point in the days following Project Skybreaker. While Earth's forces had managed to hold their ground during the operation, the aliens' increasingly aggressive maneuvers suggested they were planning something big. Their ships moved closer to major cities, casting ominous shadows over bustling streets and quiet neighborhoods alike. People began to wonder if the next move would be Earth's last stand, or its final hour. But what happened next shocked everyone, even the aliens themselves. Deep within classified military installations, researchers continued to unlock the secrets of the ancient artifacts linked to extraterrestrial technology. The inscriptions on the original orb, once indecipherable, were slowly yielding their meaning. Linguists pieced together fragments of an ancient language, revealing not just instructions for operating the device, but also references to something far greater: hidden fleets of star destroyers buried beneath Earth's surface. At first, many dismissed these claims as wild speculation. How could entire fleets of advanced warships remain concealed for thousands of years without anyone noticing? But as excavation teams unearthed evidence supporting the texts, massive underground hangars, carved into mountainsides and desert landscapes, the truth became undeniable. Humanity wasn't alone in its ancestry. It shared a connection with beings who had walked among the stars long before recorded history. The discovery sent shockwaves through governments worldwide. Leaders convened emergency meetings, debating whether to deploy the ancient ships or keep them hidden until more information could be gathered. Time was running out, though. The aliens' movements grew bolder by the day, and their silence hinted at impending action. After intense deliberation, a decision was made. Humanity would unveil its secret weapon. On a crisp morning, under the watchful eyes of billions glued to their screens, the ground trembled across multiple continents. Massive steel doors embedded in mountain ranges slid open, revealing sleek, towering vessels unlike anything humanity had ever seen. These star destroyers gleamed in the sunlight, their surfaces polished to a mirror-like finish. They rose into the sky with terrifying speed and precision, joining the alien armada already hovering above Earth. The reaction was instantaneous. Panic rippled through the alien fleet as their sensors detected the sudden appearance of these new ships. For weeks, they had assumed Earth to be a primitive backwater planet, ripe for conquest, or worse, extermination. Now, faced with evidence of advanced guardians lying dormant beneath the planet's crust, their confidence wavered. Humanity wasted no time seizing the initiative. From command centers around the globe, military leaders coordinated the deployment of the star destroyers. The ships formed tight formations, positioning themselves strategically around key locations such as capital cities, nuclear facilities, and research hubs. Their presence alone was enough to deter any immediate attack from the aliens, who now clustered their own vessels defensively. What followed was a tense standoff, with neither side making a move. The aliens scanned the star destroyers intently, likely analyzing their design and capabilities. Meanwhile, human operators worked furiously to understand how to fully utilize the ancient technology. Though the ships responded to basic commands, much of their functionality remained locked behind complex systems that required further decoding. For the first time since the aliens' arrival, Earth held the upper hand. Governments used this opportunity to initiate contact once again, broadcasting a bold message directly to the alien fleet. Transmitted in multiple languages, including mathematical sequences designed to transcend linguistic barriers, the message was clear and concise. Leave, now or face annihilation. The transmission echoed through space, carrying humanity's defiance across the void. For hours there was no response. The alien ships remained motionless, their glowing lights flickering faintly against the backdrop of Earth's atmosphere. Then, finally, came the reply. It wasn't spoken words or written text. It was a series of symbols accompanied by hauntingly beautiful music. The melody resonated deeply, evoking emotions ranging from awe to sorrow. Scientists scrambled to decode the message, feeding the data into supercomputers programmed with algorithms based on the ancient language. Slowly, patterns emerged, forming coherent sentences. They did not know the translation read, "We came seeking resources, unaware of your protectors." The revelation stunned everyone. According to the aliens, they hadn't intended to provoke humanity. Instead, they viewed Earth as an untapped reservoir of materials necessary for their survival, a perspective shaped by centuries of interstellar travel and dwindling resources. When they arrived, they assumed humans were too primitive to pose a threat. The emergence of the Star Destroyers shattered that assumption, forcing them to reconsider their plans. Despite the explanation, skepticism lingered. Many questioned whether the aliens were telling the truth or simply trying to buy time. Military commanders kept the Star Destroyers on high alert, ready to strike at the slightest provocation. At the same time, diplomats urged caution, arguing that peaceful resolution might still be possible. Over the next few days, communication between Earth and the alien fleet intensified. Each exchange brought new insights into their culture, motivations, and fears. It became clear that while technologically superior in some areas, the aliens lacked access to certain resources critical for sustaining life aboard their ships. Desperation had driven them to explore planets like Earth where those resources were abundant. As negotiations progressed, humanity found itself in an unprecedented position of power. The Star Destroyers weren't just weapons, they were symbols of unity. Nations set aside old rivalries to focus on protecting their shared home. Ordinary citizens rallied behind the cause, volunteering their skills and resources to support the effort. Even skeptics who had doubted Earth's ability to resist the invaders now cheered for the resilience and ingenuity displayed by their species. Still, the question remained, what would happen next? Would the aliens leave peacefully, or would they attempt one final gamble to secure the resources they needed? Military leaders prepared for both scenarios, ensuring that every contingency plan was in place. Meanwhile, scientists worked tirelessly to unlock additional features of the Star Destroyers, hoping to strengthen Earth's defenses even further. By the end of the week, the situation had stabilized, but only temporarily. The aliens signaled their intention to withdraw, albeit reluctantly. Their ships began retreating toward the glowing fissures in the sky, which widened slightly to accommodate their departure. Observers noted signs of damage on several vessels, likely sustained during earlier encounters with the Aegis shields. Whatever doubts remained about humanity's newfound strength vanished in that moment. Yet even as the alien fleet disappeared, beyond the horizon questions lingered. Why had Earth's ancestors built such powerful ships and then buried them? What other secrets lay hidden beneath the planet's surface? And most importantly, would the aliens return someday? For now, however, humanity celebrated its victory. Cities erupted in cheers as news of the aliens' retreat spread. Fireworks lit up the night sky, mirroring the glow of the Star Destroyers as they returned to their underground hangars. People hugged strangers, cried tears of relief, and marveled at what they had achieved together. In boardrooms and laboratories, discussions turned to the future. With access to advanced alien and ancient technologies, humanity stood on the brink of a new era. Space exploration, once a distant dream, suddenly felt within reach. Diseases deemed incurable might now have cures. Energy crises could be solved overnight. The possibilities were endless, but amidst the excitement, a sobering realization took root. Earth was no longer isolated. Its inhabitants had stepped onto the cosmic stage, proving themselves capable of standing toe-to-toe with beings from beyond the stars. Whether this newfound status brought opportunities or dangers remained to be seen. As dawn broke over the horizon, painting the sky with hues of gold and pink, humanity looked upward with a mix of hope and determination. The tables had turned, but the journey was far from over. The departure of the alien fleet left Earth in a state of cautious optimism. For weeks, people had lived under the shadow of uncertainty, their lives upended by the presence of beings far more advanced than themselves. Now, with the glowing fissures in the sky slowly fading and the alien ships vanishing into the void, humanity was finally free to breathe again. But the sense of relief was tinged with questions, big ones that couldn't be ignored. What had just happened? Who were these aliens, really? And what did it mean for Earth's place in the universe? In the days following the retreat, scientists and military leaders convened global summits to analyze the events and chart a path forward. Data collected during the standoff revealed fascinating details about the aliens' technology, culture, and motivations. Their ships operated on principles of physics humanity barely understood, harnessing energy sources far beyond nuclear fusion or solar power. Their music-like transmissions hinted at a deeply artistic society, one that valued harmony and balance. Yet beneath the beauty lay desperation, a species struggling to survive in a harsh and unforgiving cosmos. The discovery of the Star Destroyers had changed everything. These ancient vessels, buried for millennia beneath Earth's surface, suggested that humanity's ancestors were not as primitive as once believed. Ancient texts and artifacts pointed to a forgotten era when humans, or perhaps their predecessors, had interacted with extraterrestrial civilizations. Some theories proposed that these beings had shared knowledge and resources with early humans before mysteriously disappearing. Others speculated that the Star Destroyers were gifts left behind, as a safeguard meant to protect Earth from future threats. Regardless of the truth, one thing was clear: humanity was part of something much larger than itself. With the immediate threat neutralized, governments turned their attention to unlocking the full potential of the Star Destroyers. Teams of engineers, physicists, and linguists worked around the clock to decode the ship's systems, uncovering capabilities that defied imagination. The vessels could travel faster than light, manipulate gravity fields, and even terraform barren planets into habitable worlds. Each revelation sparked excitement and fear. Such power could usher in an age of unprecedented prosperity, but it also carried risks. If misused, the technology could lead to catastrophic consequences. To prevent misuse, world leaders established the Global Unity Council, GUC, an international body tasked with overseeing the development and deployment of extraterrestrial technologies. Representatives from every nation gathered to draft guidelines ensuring transparency, cooperation, and accountability. For the first time in history, humanity united under a common purpose: to explore the stars while safeguarding its home planet. As our research progressed, ordinary citizens marveled at the rapid advancements transforming daily life. Energy crises became a thing of the past as clean, limitless power derived from alien tech replaced fossil fuels. Medical breakthroughs cured diseases once thought incurable, extending lifespans and improving quality of life. Transportation evolved dramatically, with anti-gravity vehicles replacing cars and high-speed spacecraft, making intercontinental travel nearly instantaneous. Even agriculture benefited, as genetically modified crops grown using alien methods thrived in previously barren lands. But progress wasn't without its challenges. The sudden influx of advanced technology widened the gap between rich and poor nations, exacerbating existing inequalities. Wealthy countries raced ahead, adopting innovations at lightning speed, while poorer regions struggled to keep pace. Protests erupted in cities worldwide, demanding equitable access to the new resources. In response, the GUC launched initiatives aimed at bridging the divide, providing funding and expertise to underdeveloped nations. Though slow, these efforts began to yield results, fostering a spirit of collaboration and mutual support. Amidst the societal changes, humanity's relationship with space underwent a profound transformation. No longer content to gaze at the stars through telescopes, Earth turned its eyes outward, eager to explore the mysteries beyond. Using the star destroyers as templates, engineers designed smaller, more versatile spacecraft capable of carrying crews across vast distances. The first manned mission launched within months, venturing to Mars and establishing a permanent colony on its surface. From there, expeditions reached further into the solar system, mapping moons, asteroids, and gas giants in unprecedented detail. Each discovery fueled public fascination and curiosity. Images of alien landscapes streamed live on television and social media, captivating audiences of all ages. Schools revamped their curricula to include astronomy, astrophysics, and xenobiology, inspiring a new generation of scientists and explorers. Space tourism boomed, with companies offering trips to orbiting stations and lunar bases. What had once been the stuff of science fiction was now reality. Yet despite the excitement, humanity remained vigilant. The memory of the alien invasion lingered, a reminder that Earth was not alone in the universe, and that danger could come from any direction. Military forces continued to monitor the skies, deploying upgraded versions of the Aegis shields around major cities and strategic locations. Researchers studied the data collected during the standoff, searching for clues about other potential threats lurking in the cosmos. Diplomats drafted protocols for contacting extraterrestrial civilizations, emphasizing peaceful engagement over aggression. One evening, 6 months after the aliens' retreat, a message arrived from deep space. It wasn't addressed to Earth, specifically, but rather broadcasted indiscriminately, like a beacon calling out to anyone who might hear it. Decoding the transmission took weeks, but when the translation was complete, it sent shockwaves through the scientific community. The message contained coordinates leading to a distant star system, accompanied by symbols resembling those found on the original orb. Embedded within the text was a single phrase repeated over and over: "Join us." Debate raged over how to respond. Some argued that humanity should ignore the message, fearing another encounter with hostile forces. Others saw it as an opportunity, a chance to connect with benevolent beings willing to share knowledge and resources. After much deliberation, the GUC decided to send a delegation aboard a newly constructed star destroyer, equipped with cutting-edge defenses and communication systems. The mission, named Project Horizon, would represent humanity's first step toward joining the galactic community. Months later, the star destroyer embarked on its journey, carrying a crew of scientists, diplomats, and engineers. As it disappeared into the depths of space, billions watched the launch live, holding their breath and hoping for success. Whether the destination held allies or adversaries remained unknown, but one thing was certain: humanity had taken its place among the stars. Back on Earth, life continued to evolve. Cities flourished, powered by sustainable energy and protected by advanced technology. People looked to the sky with wonder and pride, knowing that their species had risen to meet extraordinary challenges. The scars of the alien encounter had healed, replaced by a renewed sense of purpose and possibility. For centuries, humanity had gazed upward, dreaming of what lay beyond. Now, thanks to courage, ingenuity, and a little help from ancient guardians, those dreams had become reality. The sky that had once parted to reveal terror had opened instead to unveil hope, a new dawn for a species determined to thrive in a vast and mysterious universe.